Welcome to 2 cents short of a dollar, the show where we give our 2 cents and keep it 100. We're your hosts. That's Motiz. I'm Rue. Last recording of the year 2023, ending with a bang here. So we got an interview recently from Victor Conte. Those who don't know, he heads up the snack program, which a lot of some of the top tier boxers are actually affiliated with these days. Just to name a few, you have Terrence Crawford, you have Devin Haney, Bam Rodriguez, the list goes on, Demetrius Andrade. But the reason we're making this video is because he made some very interesting comments, and it's been since July 29th, it's just been the talk of the boxing world, right? What happened to Errol Spence, whatever. But Victor made some interesting comments. We're gonna add the actual audio here.
Now I'm gonna say one more thing that I probably shouldn't say because I don't want to take any credit away from Terrence Crawford. But I know something that Errol Spence did before that fight that to me was extremely stupid. And that is he got to Las Vegas, and 7 days out from the fight, he decided that he was going to go run 5 miles at Mount Charles at an elevation of 8,000 feet. You should never, ever do that without what they call acclimation. They call it a dose of low oxygen because oxygen at 2,200 feet in Las Vegas might be 19%. But when you get up to 8,000 feet, it's probably 15 or 16%. You can develop what they call altitude sickness. So without acclimating, in other words, doing 2,500, 4,500, 6,500, 8,500, and doing exercise at low elevation, at high elevation or low oxygen, and gradually go up, you're going to get sick. It's going to hamper your performance. It's not going to be in your best interest to do that.
But he actually said, he believes Errol Spence and their team did something stupid. Where the week of the fight in Vegas, they ran, I forgot the name of the mountain, but the elevation, I believe, is 8,000 plus feet. And then he said they didn't give you have to work your way into that. You can't just go straight to that. And then he alluded to altitude sickness. And then so I looked up altitude sickness. I've heard it. I think I've heard it like in the movie Everest or something. So I looked it up, and then one thing that stood out to me was it was like like reduced performance, but mainly coordination. And I was just like, wait a minute, that sounded kind of crazy because one thing a lot of people pointed out is and I forgot, was it Breadman? And it wasn't Breadman, it was somebody. They said even in the workouts, like the media workouts,
yeah, he was looking a little too shaky, off balance. Yep.
Yeah. So I know you got a chance to see the interview. I was rambling for a minute. Go ahead, tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. When I seen the initial interview, and I'll put his YouTube channel as well. He does a bunch of interviews, and that was the first interview that I've seen from this channel. So shout outs to that boxing channel. But Victor Conte specifically, as you mentioned, he stated that Errol Spence's camp, they did something stupid, especially during the week of the fight. And there's a good chance, and this is what he believes was the case, is that Errol Spence developed altitude sickness. And like you mentioned, of course, some of the symptoms actually falls in line with how Errol Spence was looking during the fight. Like at common sense, anyone watching the fight knew something was wrong with Errol Spence. There was just a lot of speculation. Some people saying, oh, it was the car accident. It was because he's weight drained, right? It was a lot of different people just trying to figure out what was wrong, right? Because even Terrence Crawford admitted that he was shocked with he didn't think he was going to beat Errol Spence to that degree, looking like that, right? So everyone was surprised, right? Not necessarily the outcome of the fight, but how the fight was happening, right?
Yeah.
So, and like you mentioned, of course, some of the symptoms, like in terms of reduced coordination, right? Fatigued, right? You may have symptoms of like insomnia, right? In terms of like reduced oxygen, right? In terms of your performance, even like fluid could be built up in the lungs as a result, and or under the skin. And many people were saying that Errol Spencer looked orange, or he looked a little weird as a result. I mean, based off of what Victor Conte is saying, and although he does have, I would say, not a clean slate, but he's still knowledgeable,
Very
right? So,
knowledgeable.
and it seems like it's falling in line, right? It seems plausible, in my
Yeah.
honest opinion.
I think what's crazy is he didn't have to offer up this information, which is why it's also believable to me. He could have just said nothing. You know what I'm saying? And then like this has absolutely nothing to do with Terrence Crawford here, right? I'm just like strictly like like let's do an analysis of Errol Spence. Like I said, the balance looked weird. He was gasping for air. You usually don't see Errol Spence, fatigued. A lot of people give him praise for his motor. You know what I'm saying? So just some of the things you were seeing in him, I think this does seem to align. And like the main thing I care about, the fight is the fight is done. I just hope it is only something of this extent, because I think, people like Errol Spence, we want to see him back in the ring and to the best of his ability, even beyond the Crawford situation, right? You never just want to see a guy just go out. So if it's just something like this, which, you live and you learn, hindsight 2020, I won't do this again, but it's not something like, you remember the doctor came out and said it was in his brain. Like you said,
Yeah,
people been alluding to the car accident. So hopefully it is just this, and he still has more fight in him. He's 33, so he still has some years left in his career. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, Terrence Crawford aside, obviously Terrence Crawford's a killer. So if you're lacking anywhere, he's going to take advantage of it. But like I said, this isn't really about Terrence Crawford. It's just about looking at Errol Spence. And like I said, even people were pointing out, even from the media workout, like he just looks strange. You know what I mean? But one other thing I took away from the video is Victor Conte was just like, so I'm just giving you a clue into what's going on, or what was going on. So I wonder, is there more that he knows about something else, or maybe I could just be looking too deep into his words. But when he said, I'm just giving you a clue, I felt like, okay, he had more story to tell us that
yeah,
he just didn't, didn't share with us at the time.
yeah, yeah. It might be more, it might be less. I mean, who knows, right? At the end of the day, still a theory, but it seems the most plausible theory that I've heard thus far,
Yeah, yeah,
which seems to make sense just based off timeline, what Errol Spence did do, running, etc. And I learned something new. I didn't know L2 sickness was even a thing
yeah,
until I did
yeah.
some research and seeing how much of an impact it may have on certain athletes, etc., etc. So
Yeah, and to go back to an old video that we did when we were talking about like Derek James, this kind of seems like it could have been something Errol Spence did on his own whim. I know there was talks about, he's expressed it as hard to make the weight, so probably, he's probably trying to do something extra just to get under to make weight for the fight. But it just seems like nobody in the camp could have guided him against this, or maybe he didn't even share it with them. Maybe he's just like, I'm just going for a regular run, nobody asked any questions, and he just went out and did this, right? And I
right,
think it reminds me of an old video we did where we were saying that, I think it was the rib video where they started saying, "Oh, his rib was broken," and I was just like, it just doesn't line up, because Derek James wouldn't be asking him, "What's wrong with you?" if Derek
right,
James knew his rib was broken. But let's say he went out on this run, just regular run. Derek doesn't know. Derek just knows you went on a run. Maybe he doesn't know you went on a run up the mountain and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
that kind of lines up with Derek, because Derek was confused during the fight. He's like, "What's wrong with you, man?" You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? You know what I'm saying? So, just hopefully they do better research. Maybe they maybe have to incorporate someone in the camp who knows a little bit more about the sciences and stuff like that, right?
Or maybe hit up Victor Conte. I want to be part of Snack.
Yeah.
I want to be part of Snack. No, bro.
Yeah, but definitely let us know after you guys checked out the audio snippet. Tell us what you think. Do you think this is a plausible theory? And like I said, just take Terrence Crawford out of it, right? Just forget what happened in the fight. Do you think, and if you look up altitude sickness and what Victor Conte is saying, do you think that kind of aligns with what you saw from Errol Spence? And like I said, just look at Errol Spence, take the Crawfordness out of it. Just look at the movements, the fatigue and stuff like that. Hop in the comment section. Tell us what you think about that.